Hello, and welcome to Weirdly Forgotten. I'm Ripon, and today we're diving into one of history's most baffling mysteries. Imagine a ruler so powerful they could command armies, build cities, and shape the course of an empire. Yet when you look for their name in the history books, you find nothing. A blank space. A ghost on the throne. We're exploring the incredible story of a ruler who tried to delete his own legacy. But what secret was so monumental, so scandalous, that he felt the only solution was to erase himself from existence? Let's find out. Throughout history, we've seen figures deliberately wiped from the record by their successors. This process, known as damnatio memoriae, or the condemnation of memory, was a Roman practice used to punish traitors and disgraced emperors. Their statues were torn down, their names chiseled off inscriptions, and their laws rescinded. Think of Emperor Caligula or Nero. Their successors did everything they could to pretend they never existed. But what we're talking about today is different. This isn't about someone else erasing a ruler. This is about a ruler who, seemingly, orchestrated his own disappearance from the annals of time. Our story takes us to the ancient world, to an empire at its peak. Let's call our emperor Silas, since his real name is the very thing that's been lost. For decades, Silas ruled over a vast and prosperous land. We have records of his reign, but they are strangely impersonal. We see economic reports showing years of bountiful harvests. We have military records detailing successful campaigns that expanded the empire's borders. We even have architectural blueprints for grand temples and public works projects initiated during his time. Everything points to a stable, successful, and even popular reign. The empire was thriving. The people were, by all accounts, content. Silas was, on paper, a model emperor. But here's where it gets weird. While the achievements of his era are well documented, the man himself is a phantom. In official court documents where the emperor's name should be, there's often just a generic title like more the august ruler or the divine sovereign. On monuments built during his time, the space where his name and face should be carved is either suspiciously blank or appears to have been altered, replaced with symbols of the sun or generic emblems of power. It's as if someone went through every single record with a fine-toothed comb and systematically removed the personal identity of the man in charge. For centuries, historians were utterly baffled. Early scholars who first stumbled upon these inconsistencies thought it was simply a case of poor record-keeping or damage over time. They assumed the name had just been lost to the sands of time, a common occurrence with ancient civilizations. They tried to piece together his identity through indirect clues, looking at the reigns of the emperors who came before and after him, trying to fill in the gap. But the more they dug, the clearer it became that this wasn't an accident. This was deliberate. The precision of the erasure was too perfect. The absence was too consistent. Someone with immense power and resources had orchestrated this vanishing act. The most logical and yet most unbelievable conclusion was that the only person with that kind of power was the emperor himself. So, the central question became, why? Why would a successful ruler want to be forgotten? This question sent historians down a rabbit hole of theories, each more intriguing than the last. Was he a philosopher king who believed a true leader should be nameless, serving the state without ego or desire for personal glory? It's a romantic idea, but it doesn't quite fit the evidence. The monuments were still built. The glory was still claimed, just not by a specific person. The ego was still there, just hidden behind a veil of anonymity. This is where the real detective work begins. Modern archaeologists and historians started looking not at what was written, but at what was unwritten. They examined the scars left behind by the erasures. Using new imaging technologies, they could analyze the stone inscriptions where names had been chiseled away. Faintly, underneath the blank spaces, they could sometimes make out the original lettering. Slowly, painstakingly, they began to reconstruct a name, a phantom identity. And as they did, a darker story began to emerge. one hidden in whispers and coded messages in the margins of provincial reports. The first major clue came from a remote province at the edge of the empire. A clay tablet, overlooked for centuries, contained a letter from a local governor to a trusted friend. In it, he doesn't use the emperor's name. Instead, he refers to him by a chilling nickname, the Ashen King. The letter describes a great cleansing that had occurred at the capital, a purge not of people, but of knowledge. The governor wrote of imperial agents arriving with orders to burn specific scrolls, destroy certain statues, and rewrite public records. He expressed fear and confusion, wondering what great sin the emperor was trying to hide. This single tablet cracked the case wide open. Historians began re-examining other texts from that period, looking for similar coded language. They found it. Whispers of a silent rebellion, not against the emperor's rule, but against his family. It appears our Emperor Silas wasn't the rightful heir to the throne. The evidence suggests he may have seized power through a brutal and bloody coup, assassinating his own brother and the entire legitimate line of succession. He didn't just take the throne, he exterminated his rivals. This would explain the need for secrecy. He was a usurper, and he lived in constant fear that his crime would be discovered, leading to his own downfall. But if he was trying to hide his crime, why erase his own name? Why not just invent a glorious backstory for himself? This is the most brilliant and chilling part of his plan. By erasing his own identity, he also erased the identities of those he had wronged. By making himself an anonymous divine sovereign, he severed the very concept of a bloodline. There was no family tree to trace, no legitimate lineage to challenge him. He didn't just rewrite history, he tried to delete the concept of lineage itself, making his own illegitimate claim absolute. He became an abstract symbol of power, disconnected from the messy, bloody reality of his ascension. He was trying to bury the secret of his rebellion and the shame of his actions by burying himself along with it. This theory gained even more ground with the discovery of a hidden tomb far from the traditional royal burial grounds. It was opulent but unmarked. Inside, there were no names, no inscriptions, only symbols of power. The sarcophagus was plain, devoid of any identifying features. Was this the final resting place of the Ashen King? A man who ruled an empire but chose to enter the afterlife as a nobody. It seems his obsession with anonymity followed him to his grave. In the end, Emperor Silas's grand scheme almost worked. For millennia, he was a ghost, a blank spot in the historical record. He successfully hid his crimes for an astonishingly long time. But he made one crucial miscalculation. He underestimated the persistence of human curiosity. He believed that if you destroy the records, you destroy the story. But stories are more resilient than stone. They survive in whispers, in coded letters, in the empty spaces where a name should be. The very act of erasure becomes a story in itself. His attempt to become nobody made him one of history's most fascinating somebodies. You can erase your name from a monument, but you can't erase the impact you had on the world, for good or for ill. The story of the Ashen King is a powerful reminder that you can never truly delete the past. The truth, no matter how deeply buried, has a way of finding its way back into the light. The emperor who erased himself from history ultimately failed, because in his desperate attempt to be forgotten, he created a mystery that we would never forget. Thank you for joining me on Weirdly Forgotten. What do you think was the real reason for his self-erasure? Let me know your theories down in the comments. And if you enjoy unraveling the forgotten mysteries of the past, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories. We'll see you next time.